butt now. He don't like no more. He likes butt. And I've honestly always thought that Blueface swung for the other team simply because of his hatred for women. I just always felt like Blueface, when given the opportunity, he was gonna take some ass. They're more loyal.
Also, speaking of Blueface, all this chit chat got me thinking about that time I posted these pics on Instagram a couple months ago. Check the material. Very much she a baddie, she knows she a 10, she a baddie with her baddie friends. Why did this happen after? I wasn't gonna go.
Think I'm funny?
I was with a little person before.
Who?
Nah, not like that.
Who? Was it a girl or a guy? What?
Turns out Blueface might have been dealing with more than just serving time because someone who shared a cell with him finally spoke up about what he saw. The guy confirmed the quiet whispers people were nervous to repeat, saying Blue was getting controlled in ways most fans never expected. And when you go back and watch the old clips, the signs were sitting right there in front of everyone. Those old claims people brushed off are starting to hit different now. The more details connect, the clearer it becomes that the rumors had roots. Folks have been hinting for years that Blueface wasn't moving the way he wanted the world to believe. But now those hints sound a lot louder. What makes it even more interesting is that these rumors didn't start inside prison. The first cracks in his tough rapper image came from Chrisean long before the legal trouble in jail time. She was already online calling him out for cheating even while she was involved with Offset. Blue tried to flip it on her after that, talking wild and saying things like, being tatted on a hoe is not a flex, and calling her out for being with Cardi B's husband. He even said, I'm tired of men looking at me while they sleep with you, trying to make her look reckless. But Chrisean fired back and dropped the part everyone ignored. She posted, let's talk about how I saw DL Corn in your recent search history, and that shifted the whole conversation in a way fans weren't ready for. That's why a lot of people started thinking there was more going on behind the scenes because Chrisean wasn't just throwing random shade. She said, zesty ninja on my neck, and followed it with, nothing wrong with being bisexual. Just let a girl know before she falls in love, weirdo. At first, people thought she was just hurt, angry, or trying to get back at him. But the patterns kept stacking up in ways that made the situation look different. And that wasn't even the first time she hinted he might be living a double life. During that live stream with Kai, Blueface bragged that he once slept with a little person.
Why are you gay?
I'm not gay, I told you I'm pansexual.
Why do you like men?
Are you gay?
No. What the f are you talking about? Come on, here, give it to me.
She good. Get her butter from her.
Wait,
Hey,
what?
He's not gay.
Chrisean didn't even ask who the woman was. She immediately said, is that a boy or a girl? The whole room went silent. It made people wonder why she even thought that was a real possibility, unless she had seen something herself. Unless that DL Corn she mentioned wasn't just her trying to take a shot at him. After that, old clips started resurfacing. People remembered moments where Blueface asked strange or unnecessary questions during conversations around his household. The clips didn't look major at the time, but looking back, fans started noticing how overly focused he was on proving something about his own image. Then there was that moment online where he brought adult dancers to the house while filming. The situation looked uncomfortable to viewers because it felt forced and awkward, like he was trying to prove a point for the camera rather than just living his life. The kid in the background wasn't even interested, walking off to grab snacks while Blue kept pushing for reactions. The whole thing came off strange and unnatural, and it made the internet question what he was really trying to show the world. And what makes the story even stranger is that the auditions for the Bad Boys Club show added more questions than answers. Blue wasn't just interviewing contestants. He kept asking the guys things like, why are you DL and why do you like men? In a way that felt less like casting and more like he was trying to screen for something personal. People who were there said the energy didn't match a normal audition at all. The signs were stacking up long before he went to prison. But once he got locked up, the rumors hit the internet hard. People started saying Blueface wasn't just keeping to himself or getting into fights. According to the claims, he was allegedly involved with men inside, but not in the way people usually assume when it comes to a celebrity behind bars.
You ain't gay, right? My man. My dog. My young...
The story was that he was the one in control and supposedly had someone in there he was close to on a deeper level. Multiple sources even claimed he had a full-on jail partner and allegedly promised the guy a ring. That's when fans went back looking at old photos, poses, and shots he posted. Suddenly, the body language people once ignored started looking different, like it belonged to someone who was being treated a certain way on the inside. Then came the Chrisean situation. Cole, a drag artist, said Blue slid into his DMs after Cole posted some bold photos. Cole shared screenshots that he said were from Blue, and even uploaded a video clip suggesting he had been with someone who had the same stomach tattoos Blueface is known for. He didn't show the person's face, but the matching ink had people talking instantly. When the internet started buzzing, Blue's response was a short message that didn't clear much up. He tweeted, "I'm not suing nobody for no defamation. If you believe that, that's on you. This stuff is all entertainment for me. Literally, every time I open these apps, I separate my reality from this virtual world where everyone is pretending and lying for likes and approvals." His reaction left people more confused than before, because it didn't deny anything directly. The situation got even messier when old industry stories started resurfacing. People began pulling up moments from years back where Blueface seemed obsessed with proving he was straight in ways that felt forced instead of natural. There were clips of him constantly bragging about women, trying to look unbothered, but the energy always came off like he was battling something inside that he didn't want anyone to see. Then social media dug up a moment where Blue said during an interview that he didn't mind being around men who were openly into other men. Most people brushed it off at the time, but now it was being re-examined under a different light.
Everybody's like, oh, he keeps talking about people wearing dresses. No, it's not.
That is a weird thing.
It's not like that. Look at it from a different way. Look at it. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. That's how you understand what a rich.
It wasn't the statement itself that surprised people. It was the way he said it. Almost too defensive, like he was trying to preempt a rumor before it started. Around this same time, insiders who claimed to have been in Blue's circle began speaking anonymously online. One person said he had a pattern of being overly curious about other guys' personal business. Another said he used to text people late at night with questions that didn't match the public image he was trying to keep. None of this was proven, but the stories kept piling up until the timeline started to look more like a pattern than random gossip. Things escalated when a former stylist, someone who had worked with him during a tour, hinted that Blue had once tried to confide something but backed out at the last second. They claimed he was afraid someone in his circle would use it against him. According to them, he lived with a lot of pressure and didn't trust anyone enough to be fully honest. Then a podcast host dropped a hint about a certain LA party Blue attended, saying his behavior that night didn't match the tough persona he usually shows online. They didn't describe anything explicit, just mentioned that he seemed more comfortable around certain company than people expected. That small comment alone made the entire internet start connecting new dots. By this point, Blueface wasn't responding directly to any of it. Every time the rumors heated up, he would post something random, crack jokes, or shift attention to something else. But the silence only made people dig deeper, because it looked less like confidence, and more like someone who didn't want to answer certain questions. The turning point came when one of Blueface's old associates from the music side stepped forward with a story people weren't expecting.
You got the lubricant?
Who the fuck is lubricant, baby? You know this one for the water fire.
What if I want to go in the buttocks?
Yeah.
Hey, you with it, huh?
Is it kind of weird that the first day out of prison, Blueface is suggesting some type of action to his woman? Or do you guys think that this is just normal behavior for them and that is what he was doing before
He said Blue used to act completely different when the cameras were off, showing a softer, quieter side that didn't match the loud image he pushed online. According to him, Blue spent a lot of time worrying about what people would think if they knew who he really was. The associate didn't say anything disrespectful, but the way he described the mood made the internet question whether Blue was carrying a secret he never felt safe sharing. Another person who once worked on a video shoot with Blue said he always kept a tight grip on how women were positioned around him, almost like he needed to be surrounded by them to make a point. They said it felt less like natural attraction and more like strategy, like he was trying to drown out any suspicion with constant bragging. At the time, people chalked it up to ego, but now the behavior was being reinterpreted. Then a behind-the-scenes clip from a studio session resurfaced. Blue had been joking around with the crew, but the joke turned into an awkward moment when someone brought up a rumor. Blue instantly switched energy, shutting down the conversation fast. Some people thought he was just being private, but others said his reaction looked more like fear than annoyance. More voices started stepping in, too. A promoter from a past tour mentioned that Blue always acted nervous when certain topics came up around industry folks. He said Blue kept distance from anyone who was openly LGBTQ, not because he disliked them, but because he seemed afraid someone might assume something about him. The promoter said it looked like Blue was trying to outrun an image he didn't want attached to his name. By this point, fans were split. Some said the stories made him look human, someone dealing with personal pressure. Others insisted the growing trail of claims suggested he had been living a double life for years. And while the internet kept arguing, Blue's silence stayed the same, as if he was hoping the noise would eventually fade without him having to explain anything. What really pushed the conversation into a new direction was when a former friend went on a small podcast and hinted that Blue had been dealing with identity pressure long before fame. He said there were moments where Blue acted like he wanted to open up, but every time the topic got close to anything personal, he would shut down instantly. According to him, Blue grew up around people who judged anything outside the traditional norm. So he built a wall early and never let it down. The friend also mentioned something that caught social media's attention. He said Blue used to get irritated whenever people labeled him too fast. He didn't want to be called soft, but he also didn't like being forced into the tough guy box. The friend described it as someone trying to survive by playing a role, even if that role didn't match how they really felt inside. Then an old neighbor jumped into the conversation online. They claimed Blue acted different when he thought nobody was watching, quieter and more laid back. They said he wasn't the wild, loud person he pretended to be on camera. According to them, the tough persona was something he created for protection, not personality. At the same time, a clip resurfaced of Wack 100 making vague comments about Blue's personal life. Wack didn't expose anything directly, but the tone suggested he knew more than he wanted to say publicly. He hinted that Blue had secrets he was scared would get used against him, especially now that the legal trouble and online attention were stacking up. Another source from the entertainment side claimed Blue once confided to someone about being tired of pretending. They said he didn't explain what exactly he was hiding, just that he felt trapped between who people thought he was and who he really wanted to be. That detail made fans revisit his old tweets, interviews, and interactions, looking for clues they missed the first time. By now, the conversation wasn't just about rumors. It turned into people asking whether Blue had been dealing with pressure, confusion, or fear for years. Some said the internet was being messy, while others argued that the patterns were too specific to ignore. Blue still hadn't addressed any of it directly, and that silence kept the speculation alive. That moment when Blue said, "I am the truth," but that line "ain't suing nobody for no defamation" instantly set people off because it sounded more like fear than confidence. If someone lied on your name that heavy, most people would be in court the same week. Blue didn't move like that, and the internet felt like he had a reason for staying quiet. It came off like he didn't want certain doors open, especially with how many receipts were already floating around. A few days after he got released, things got even more awkward. He hopped on livestream with Chrisean, but the conversation didn't sound like a man who had been locked up and missed real intimacy. Instead of talking normal, the first thing he brought up was backdoor activity. People watching were confused because it felt like his mind went straight to something he didn't need to mention at all, especially after everything the internet was accusing him of. Then things shifted again when people got a look at his face tattoos. When Blue walked out of prison, his whole face was suddenly covered in random logos. Chase, Walgreens, MLB, YSL. A whole mix of corporate symbols stamped across his cheeks and forehead like a collage. It didn't look like the kind of ink someone chooses for themselves. It looked chaotic, rushed, and strangely placed. Rumors started spreading immediately. Some said the tattoos didn't seem voluntary, and that inmates might have forced the markings on him as a form of branding. Others connected it to humiliation ritual theories, the same ones Cat Williams keeps talking about. Those theories say certain industries break you down on purpose. They don't just damage your career, They try to damage your identity. Kat said Hollywood doesn't just pressure people behind closed doors. According to him, they humiliate you, strip you of control, push you into things you would never choose, then send you back to the public with a new image that makes you look powerless. People started comparing that idea to Blue's sudden tattoo situation, wondering if his new look was a message from someone or a mark left behind from people who wanted to remind him he wasn't calling the shots. When people started mixing all the new claims with the old rumors, the internet went into overdrive. Some were saying Blueface allegedly took on a vulnerable role inside, that he was being controlled rather than choosing those situations himself. Others claimed the tattoos covering his face look more like something done to him than something he picked out. The theories suggested the ink might have been a type of mockery from other inmates, leaving marks that didn't match his usual style or energy. For some fans, that idea lined up too neatly with everything that had been building over the years. The jail rumors, the messages with Cole, the strange questions he asked people, the live stream comments that didn't match the attitude he tried to show in public. When you put all of it together, the story stopped feeling like random gossip and started feeling like something he had been trying to keep buried for a long time. So when Blue walked out of prison with a face full of mismatched logos and symbols, it made people look twice. Instead of a confident return home, some said he looked drained, like someone who had been through something deeper than just doing time. The conversation online turned into people asking whether those tattoos were chosen freely or marked onto him to send a message. The internet reacted instantly. One person said, "Blueface looks zesty with all those tattoos on his face." Another wrote, "I believe he's DL. He even mentioned it to this girl about putting it somewhere. I truly believe it." Someone else added, "He asked that question because he confused about himself." Comments like that kept the debate alive because everyone had their own version of the story. Now, the main question floating around is simple. Was Blue really living a life inside that he never wanted the world to know about? Or are people online putting together pieces he never meant to be connected? And if the old things Chrisean said suddenly line up with what fans are seeing now, it makes people wonder what else he has been hiding behind the tough public image he pushes. If you made it this far, make sure to like the video, drop a comment, share it around, and hit that subscribe button.